Good morning. Today's date is February 10th, 2021. I bet you're thinking, hey, it's not that type of video. Keeping my Filipina warm in winter. No, it's not that type of video. Anyhow, this type of video is really important based upon some suggestions that I have while living in Wisconsin. For those of you who don't know, I moved here in 1997, so I've seen a few winters, to say the least. It is cold outside. Right now it's about -8 degrees, and it's really -8 Fahrenheit, excuse me. And it's really cold. I should put things in metric because my Filipino viewers who are in the Philippines use the metrics. So, needless to say, it's definitely below 0 degrees centigrade. What I would suggest before you come out to the United States Midwest is that you make sure you do a little studying on where you're going to be moving. The temperatures range very drastically from, let's say, Montana versus Minnesota and Wisconsin. They're similar, but there are states that are way colder than Wisconsin. I'm thankful we don't live in one of the colder climates. But I suggest that before you move here, you look into some different things as far as keeping you warm. As I've always told my spouse and the students that I work for at a school district, is that you always want to make sure you layer up. I know it's the most basic thing that you can think, but it's really important that you layer up if you move to Wisconsin. You have at least 3 layers of clothes. The first layer of clothes, you might want to have a heavy jacket, then you might want to have a sweater, and underneath that, something like this, a cool t-shirt, cotton perhaps, that allows you to breathe and feels comfortable. And then same thing too, you want to have other things too that you can take off as you get hot. You can always take off different articles of clothing. But if you don't have one level of clothing, then you will freeze and you'll have nothing else to take off. But if you have 3 layers of clothing, you'll be really warm, and you always take off clothes as you need it. This is my level 1 here. I have a nice t-shirt that's comfortable and breathable. I have some sweatpants, and then I would put on, like I say, if I was really cold, I'd put on a sweater, and then on top of that, I have a heavy jacket. One thing that I suggest is that because the weather here in Wisconsin is so unpredictable, that you always carry a light jacket in your car, in the trunk, or a light small blanket, because you never know if it's gonna get cold in a moment's notice. It might be 70 degrees in the day, and at night it might be like 40 degrees. So it's real important that you have a second set of clothing, or, like I said, a heavier or lighter jacket that you could get out of the trunk. Because, like I said, the weather can change just like that. The weather can shift, be hot in the day, cold, freezing cold at night. So it's just good to be prepared, and even have a small, like I said, a blanket or something in case your car breaks down, or you're just waiting for something and you're gonna go somewhere to the park or whatever, and you just want to have a nice little blanket to cover up with, so you can watch the stars or something. So that's a good thing to have. Well, this is my suggestion that I wear in Wisconsin. I am a real big fan of Gore-Tex. I know there are other materials that people use that are more modern and that cost perhaps a little bit more, or right around the same range. But when I was in the military in the 1980s, Gore-Tex was a huge thing. And Gore-Tex is a special fabric, if you didn't know, that when you perspire, it allows the moisture to leave your clothing and it keeps the wind and the moisture out. But Gore-Tex is really good. Like I say, right now there's some other competitive things that are out there that are a little more resistant to chemicals like oil and that are more washable. But Gore-Tex is my favorite. Like I said, when I was in the military in the 1980s, it was one of the biggest things that the military would use to keep warm. Here's what I use now primarily to keep warm. I use Columbia. Second, please. This is my, sorry about that. This is my Columbia jacket. I love it. It's really, really good. It's light, but it's heavily insulated. It's really a wonderful, wonderful jacket. And I'll talk to you guys about that perhaps later, about some of the sales. You're not gonna believe it. This is my rusty, trusty Columbia jacket. Like I say, it's fairly light, but it does a really good job keeping me warm and keeping the moisture out in the wind. And it's fairly light. This one, when it's new, is about $140, and I got it on special for $49, I believe. Really good jacket. Really good. Suggest that. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Gore-Tex. These are my Gore-Tex gloves here. I had these for a couple years, but I love them. Time to get some new ones. These are really awesome, guys. Gore-Tex, like I say, is such an interesting fabric. There are a lot of YouTube videos. If you look for a particular YouTube video, they have Gore-Tex. And what they do is someone puts their hand in the Gore-Tex glove, they put their hand in a 5-gallon bucket of water, like this. And they just turn around. Their hands stay dry. Or the sock, or they put tissue paper or something in there. Their hands stay dry, and all the moisture stayed out of here with the Gore-Tex glove. Now the same thing with the shoe. Gore-Tex shoes. I love my Gore-Tex shoes. They cost a pretty penny, but over here, here it is. My Gore-Tex shoes here. You can walk through puddles, you can walk through snow, and your feet will not get wet. They have another Gore-Tex video where people are literally walking through puddles and through the snow, and their feet don't get wet. And that's extremely important. If you're shoveling or you don't want to wear boots, it will keep your feet warm, and most importantly, like I say, dry. You do not want to get your feet soft and wet here. There's frostbite and just feeling horrible if your feet are wet here in Wisconsin. It's no good. You want to make sure your feet are dry. Gore-Tex shoes, Gore-Tex gloves. These are the newest socks I have too. These things are warm. I don't know what brand they are, but these are awesome versus, I normally wear my Under Armour socks, but these ones here are really, really warm. There's another material that most people know about called wool, but wool and I don't get along too well. Wool's from sheep, and it's kind of scratchy and itchy for me, so it doesn't really work well for me, but it might work well for you. I'll look into it. Like I say, perhaps I'll link below some of the different competing materials against Gore-Tex, but I'm a big believer in Gore-Tex. Like I say, that if we had to rely on a material to keep you dry and to keep you warm in sub-zero temperatures like -5, -25, and to keep you from freezing and getting frostbite and to keep you alive and functional, if I had to put my life on a material, probably be Gore-Tex. Strong believer in it. And then back then in the late 80s, this outfit you in a Gore-Tex parka, and it cost $1,000, and now you could probably do it, maybe half the price. Depends what type of material and fillers you use for that. Now, like I said, as far as the layers, it's good to have a good beanie, a good hat. This one here is awesome, the Hot Hands one, by Hot Hands. They have different ones, obviously, that don't look like like you're hunting, but they have them in different colors, solid stripes, all sorts of, but this is really, really, really warm. This will keep your head warm. Most of your temperature escapes from your head. So if you wear a beanie like this underneath your jacket, it will keep you warm. So I suggest for all my Filipina friends and our people who are K1 fiance visa friends or people who are moving over here to the United States, you get yourself a good beanie. You will be surprised how warm it will be. I suggest one like this that's fleece. It's very soft, very comfortable, very breathable, and it will keep you really warm. I might do more little information on this one later, but I suggest a beanie. I do not recommend the beanies that are made of all cotton, because once they get wet, that they'll be a hot mess. It'll be cold, you basically have a frozen ice cube on your head. It'll be heavy, it'll be wet, you can wring it out. While it's okay for the summer to wear those type of beanies, but here in the winter and it's snowing and raining and the snow and ice and everything, not suggested. One like this, I could get water on it, basically it'll repel it, it'll still keep you really warm, and it's very, very, very light. Strongly, highly suggested. So I use this beanie. Where's my jacket? I do not really wear a scarf, but some people love to wear scarves to keep their necks warm, and some people wear big, huge earmuffs. Some people are big believers in that, and they are. I'm sure if it's negative 25 or lower. I know many people wear it. My daughter wears it, loves it. They're very soft and comfortable and keep your ears from freezing and getting cold. That's that's a personal preference, but that's something you could look into as well. Good thing to have too, like I say, is a good pair of gloves. That's functional, and obviously that if you wear a thicker pair of gloves, you won't be able to necessarily use your cell phone to do small tactile things, but you want a pair of gloves that keep your hands warm. If you're shoveling, even if you're getting ready, I guess, to drive, some people want a thinner glove, but for me, even when my hands are warming up, I love wearing my Gore-Tex gloves when you're out. That it's good to have a pair of gloves, and will definitely keep you warm and keep your hands protected. They have thinner ones, of course, that you could use for your telephone and your tablets and stuff, but these are good for outside. Okay, and then like I say, good pair of socks that keep your toes and your feet warm, and then some good shoes. I know some people could wear, they have snow boots, and then they can wear shoes after that, but for me, I just wear these particular Gore-Tex shoes that are really good. And then I have Nikes and light shoes when it gets spring that are really nice. Nikes or Reeboks, but these ones, like I say, are for me, are the combination of between the two that offer good traction, and it's not too heavy, and you can keep your feet warm. Well, that's pretty much all I wanted to say and share with you guys about that you, before moving to a Midwest state, that you look to see how cold it is, and that you, once again, you get the proper clothes and you have the proper stuff to stay warm, because it's really important when it's like negative 25 degrees or negative 8 like it is right now here in cold Wisconsin. All right, guys, take care, and I'll talk to you later. Good morning. I actually forgot something. I cannot believe I forgot a suggestion for level 1 clothing. The old rusty trusty from World War II, Korean War, the long johns. It's really good. I suggested this to our friends in the Filipino group, that for people who are moving to the Midwest, you buy some long johns or something underneath that you could put as level 1. They will keep you warm. You can get the pants for maybe like $20, pants down here, 20 bucks, and the shirt for like 20 bucks for the top, so maybe $40. They will definitely keep you warm, and they're soft. They go underneath your clothes. Maybe that could be your level 1, then this could be your level 2, and then you have your heavier stuff, like I said, the wool sweater or something heavy that goes on top of that, and then your jacket. All right, just forgot to put that in there. Strong suggestion. Get and check into nice long johns. They are awesome. I don't have any anymore, but I did when I moved here. Strong suggestion, because I'm really happy with this as my level 1. But if I'm outside a lot, doing sports and stuff like that, or hiking or camping, even in the summer, it's good to have long johns that will keep you warm, and you can always remove them. All right, bye-bye.